one of the training stations where Seabee specials, stevedore battalions to you, get to know their stuff. Become experts at loading a ship with war goods down to the last inch, then at unloading when the cargo arrives where the shooting's going on. No, this training ship wasn't meant to go to sea. She was built to teach men to go anywhere and do a man-sized job of helping to lick the Japs. And here they come, brand new Seabees from all over the USA. Many of them did this kind of work before, but now they're all learning the Navy way fast. Every day, they're mustered into gangs. Each gang made up of 3 winch drivers, 8 hold men, 5 dock men, and a hatch boss who's usually a chief petty officer. He'll be their boss overseas, too, but now he's teaching them discipline, appearance, and drill. This gang's really on the ball. Watch Charlie take that corner. Is he salty? Nice going, mate. And here's school, Navy style, learning the names of ship's parts and gear. A loading line's called a fall, runs through a gin block and a heel block to the ends of booms. And here's a snatch block. Seattle-type cargo hook. Liverpool cargo hook, single standard block, and so on. Now on the training ship and getting them down to work. They're paying out the guys before shackling them into the deck. This man keeps the coil from getting fouled while the lower block is hauled across the deck to the ship's rail. When the guy has been paid out as far as necessary, the balance of the line is paid out too. Everyone has his job and nothing's left to chance. Where these men are going, speed in rigging the hatch might save many lives on the beach. The preventer is slipped over the end of the boom, and the fall is passed through the gin block. It goes down the boom, through the fair lead, to the block at the heel of the boom. The men at the winches make the topping lips fast to the winch drum. The booms leave their cradles as the hatch boss signals the winch man to haul away. One man stands by to clear the guys. Others in the background make sure that the chain part of the topping lift falls clear of the steel pad eye on the deck where it will be secured. The preventer guy is led across the deck and made fast to the rail with a rope lashing that's attached to the preventer wire by a large steel ring up there at the top. This prevents the boom from swinging if the regular guy breaks. Then the hatch covers are taken off and stacked neatly on either side of the hatch. Up there in the cross trees, a student is learning from his instructor how to check the topping blocks. It's important to learn how and when to make these checks because moving cargo quickly and safely depends on the gear being in good condition. Now they've knocked the pin out of the securing shackle and down it comes. As the heavy double block is lowered to the deck, it's hauled clear of the mast and winches for inspection and lubrication. This is always supervised by the chief instructor. They're knocking out the cotter key that holds the pin or axle in place. All parts must be checked carefully. The metal sides or shells examined for cracks or other damage. Pin and bearing surfaces of the shivs are checked for excessive wear and cracks caused by sudden strains. These men are learning to splice an eye into wire rope. One man tightens the rope with the elevating screw while the end of the rope is unlaid, the strands spread out and wiped off. Pushing the marlin spike between the strands is a job that takes plenty of skill. To do it once isn't hard, but keep it up all day at this man's speed, that's a different matter. Try it hour after hour, and you'll discover muscles you didn't know you had. This particular splice is called the combination lock splice. Advantages? Yes, it's good for many different kinds of jobs. And if several strands break or wear through, the splice won't part. When everything else is done, the splice is beaten to smooth out the surface and bind it together. Working with hemp rope is much easier. Here the instructor begins a short splice by wrapping tape around each line a short distance from the end. The strands are unlaid to the tape. Then they're brought together and interwoven to start the splice. It's important that they fit tight. Tape is wrapped around 3 of the strands. Each strand goes over one and under the next strand. This pointed wooden tool is called a fid and serves the same purpose as a marlin spike. When each strand has been passed through once, one tuck has been taken. Altogether, 3 tucks are taken on each side of the splice. There are several ways of finishing off. If the splice is going to be covered with canvas, it's usually tapered off with 1 or 2 more tucks after cutting out about half of each strand. This doesn't make it any stronger, but it's smoother and looks better. The usual way of tying off the ends is to split each strand into 2 parts. Then alternate halves are pulled together and served with tape or small sail twine to keep the ends from pulling out and weakening the splice. Here, some of the men are putting into practice what they've learned in rope school. They're making cargo nets that will be used in the Pacific to handle cartons and small cases when the contents can't be damaged by fairly rough handling. For example, these nets are often filled with rations and small supplies, then lowered away into landing craft at sea. Often, an entire load stays in its net until the landing craft reaches the beach. This speeds up unloading operations considerably, but of course many nets are needed. So with 88 splices in each net, these men have a job on their hands. Here's an instructor going over a winch with a student, pointing out the parts. That's the steam cylinder. Here's the gypsy head, and that's the winch drum. Down there is the main steam valve. Always open it wide, like this, not just partway. And this is the winch handle to control the direction and speed of the winch. This is the foot brake. Here's the gear shift. You get it? Well, you'll catch on soon. Now see what happens when the winch handle is moved. Pull the handle up, and the load moves up. Push it down, and the load moves down. This winch controls the fall on one boom. That winch controls the other fall. These falls lead from the winches to the blocks at the heel of each boom. Pay out with one winch while taking in with the other, and the load moves across the deck. Pay out with both winches, and the load is lowered into the hatch. The point is, move the load as close to the deck and as smoothly as possible. It looks easy, doesn't it? Now the student tries it. Easy there on the winch handles. Try to get the feel of them. Your instructor stands by, just in case. There's your signal man. Watch him when you can't see your load. Take it away. Endless slings are used to handle all sorts of cased cargo. Because too long a loop on top of the case would make the load too hard to handle, the sling is shortened up before it's hooked on. In this overhand type of shortening, 2 loops are taken close to the case and tied in an overhand knot. The balance of the sling is then put through between the loops to get it out of the way. Gasoline and oil drums make a large part of shipments overseas. They're often taken aboard with this type of bridle called chime hooks. These hooks are slipped over the chimes of the drums. Then, setting up the fall tightens the hooks into position. Here are 2 bundles of pierced steel landing mats. These mats are one reason why Seabee construction battalions have consistently outbuilt the Japs, kept our airstrips in operating condition, and our aircraft flying in spite of repeated bombings. These bundles are very heavy, so wire rope slings are used to lift them. This type of sling is equipped with sliding hooks to make it more easily attached. Jeeps bound for overseas are frequently knocked down and crated for shipment. Then they're taken aboard with 25-foot wire rope slings like these. The crate is set down on 4-inch blocks, so the slings can be easily passed under the ends. Jumbo booms are used for lifts that are too heavy for regular cargo booms. This jumbo is putting a crated distillation unit over the side. 4 winches are used, one to control the height of the boom, another to raise and lower the piece, the other 2 winches to handle the guys. The boom is lowered, the fall is paid out, and the crate lowered onto skids, placed ready on the dock. Here's the well-stowed hold of a small coastwise lumber schooner, being unloaded at a stateside base for later shipment overseas. Huge quantities of lumber are needed in the Pacific, and although it's cut from native timber whenever possible, often more lumber is needed than can be found on the spot. Long, unwieldy timbers are moved close to the deck by the winch driver, so there'll be no chance of the load swinging around and causing an accident. That big piece is the mock-up of a 25-foot landing craft, and these men are being trained as a cargo handling team to take it from its lashings on the deck, put it over the side, and load it. Later on, this team will be assigned to an AKA, that's an attack cargo ship, or an APA, an attack troop transport. They'll learn not only to get landing craft over the side, but to load them with all the guns, trucks, tanks, ammunition, and men needed to establish and maintain a beachhead. Dump trucks weighing 3.5 tons are good examples of moderately heavy loads within the load limit of the cargo booms. They're handled with a so-called gun-tackle purchase, adapted from the old days, like the ones used to haul muzzle-loading cannon back to the gun ports after firing. Now consisting of 2 single blocks in addition to the regular double blocks. The fall is doubled, so the safe workload is doubled. The load moves slowly because the winches are in low gear. At the end of the day, everything is secured. The hatch covers are replaced, and at a signal from the hatch boss, the booms start down toward their cradles. The topping lifts secured to the mast, and the booms lashed down. The falls are stripped out, and the guys are properly coiled on the hatch covers. All gear is carefully made up or stowed away, so the next watch will find everything shipshape. And so this, after a few short weeks, is the work of your trained Seabee specials, who are now really experts in supply handling problems. It has been said that this is a war of logistics, of supply, getting the right materials where they're needed, when they're needed. Well, if so, these men of the Seabee's special battalions have what it takes to help win it. Next assignment? This is it, buddy. The Pacific.